Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, Capital Markets Analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today we've got Rob Hendrix. He is a rec shop owner in Central Washington. Want to welcome Rob back to the podcast.
Good morning, Josh. Good to be here.
Thanks for being back. So we've got a Benzinga article. It's the industry news top stories of the week. Let's get right into this countdown. Drake, he's a rapper. I know you're a big fan, Rob. And so Canopy Growth, they've hired Snoop Dogg, they've hired Martha Stewart, they've hired Drake. They fired their CEO, but they think that these stars can increase revenues. And yet in Canada, you can't even put famous people on brand. So I don't really know what they're doing. They also have Seth Rogen, the comedian, is also building content for him. So a lot of stars, a lot of money, and no revenue.
Right. That pretty much sums it up, doesn't it, Josh?
Yeah. So story number 9, passengers carrying cannabis on Air Canada's Toronto to Vancouver flight were shocked when the plane got rerouted to the US. Can you imagine if you were in Canada and you're flying from one side to the other and you have cannabis, which is totally legal, and then they fly you into another country? That's pretty odd, but I guess due to some foggy conditions, they landed in Seattle and some passengers had cannabis and CBD.
Other than being diverted, now I hadn't even heard about this. I had heard about Drake and what's going on up there. Drake's Canadian himself, if I'm not mistaken. Was there any consequences of them landing in Seattle? It's my understanding the dogs don't really they're not there around anymore to sniff for marijuana. I doubt the CBD oil would cause any grief for anybody. So I'm wondering if did anything happen when they landed in Seattle as a result of them having cannabis and or CBD?
A lot of anxiety, I think, was the result. TSA has been very blunt about not doing anything about cannabis. So
Exactly.
They don't care.
No.
It would be more of a customs issue, and customs are only involved unless they left the terminal, and they wouldn't. And so right. I don't understand how that was an issue, but it does make for a good story.
Yes, it does. It does.
So number 8 on the list is that Mexico has until April 30th to legalize cannabis. I find this interesting. I don't know if it's really a political play. That's not my game, but I think that maybe the president right now is saying it's not a priority in order to kind of just let it naturally happen. But I mean, they can't walk away from that money.
I have a business and I have a home in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. I have a Mexican attorney, and my Mexican attorney has a couple of patents pending in in Mexico with regards to cannabis specifically. Well, we ended up having at least 2 very long and winding conversations about cannabis in Mexico. It was a lot of hype a couple of years ago when the Mexican equivalent of Supreme Court passed legalization for cannabis, but that was not the end. That was just the beginning. So we're still in that process. I spent some time in Mexico. I don't claim to be a cartel expert. I'm not an attorney, and I'm not even a Mexican citizen, dual citizen. But the cartels are so powerful in Mexico. Whatever legislation, whatever the president is doing or not doing, my sincere feeling would be that dealing with the cartels, and the reason it's not a priority is because maybe they've been told it's at high government levels not to make it so. Never really been much of a conspiracy theorist until I got into the cannabis world, but there's a tremendous hold on Mexico by cartels. It'll
be interesting to see if they do legalize and Canada is already there, that short squeeze of FOMO and valuations, everything within the US will just skyrocket because you've got legalization on both sides. So then all this FOMO is going to happen in the US. That's going to be crazy. But right now there's a retrenchment. There's layoffs left and right. Stock market and indices are down 50, 60%. And Canopy Growth just downsized the Latin American workforce, trying to say that the region is struggling to generate revenue, which is interesting because Canopy Growth is Canadian. So why aren't they continuing to utilize inexpensive labor and silo it, put it in flash frozen facility, or they can import it into Canada to export it to Germany. I'm not really sure why they're not utilizing the opportunities right now, like regular agriculture would. Even in a down market, you can keep that long term, sell it later.
It's a very interesting situation. You mentioned Germany specifically. I attended a global business conference early in 2019 in Portland, and one of the things they talked about in Germany was the fact that it's not only legal, but the medical community, the pharmacists, the doctors are writing actual prescriptions for cannabis in Germany. But guess what? Germany aren't, as this is as of about 8 months ago, and it looked like it was years away from getting figured out. Germany can't grow any cannabis. You can't grow it in Germany, but it's in the medical community. They're writing prescriptions. How do we get there? How do we get to the point? How could you get to the point where the docs are writing prescriptions and their national medical system is reimbursing?
They were
At the rate of
relying on Canada to
approximately,
grow it for them, and that's why all those Canadian companies saw their stock prices increase, is because they anticipated being able to sell to 70 million medical patients.
Mhm.
And that's been a slow rollout with everything else, including CBD. So, Washington State banned CBD edibles and gummies. California did that a year and a half ago. The FDA put a letter out in the mail to Curaleaf telling them that not to make any claims. And so number 6 on this list is that the FDA won't be hurried to create CBD exceptions amid safety concerns. So a top official at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration said that the agency is concerned that developing a legal exception for supplements containing CBD would send the wrong message, both to companies interested in entertaining the market and consumers. So they're in no hurry to do anything about it.
I would challenge the FDA. I would challenge other regulatory agencies within our federal government to take a position like that in any other industry. That's very, very curious to me. They are making claims. They are making wellness claims. Follow the money. Who's benefiting? I think by leaving that in limbo, it's going to be very, very hard once these CBD companies, these customers are out there, and there probably are millions of customers out there that are going to be buying this product with success, without success. A lot of it might be a placebo effect. Who the heck knows? And it's going to be very difficult to get that horse back in the barn 5 years down the road when somebody decides that, hey, you know what, we probably ought to rope this into our regulatory system and figure out what we're doing here, like we are with everything else.
The Wild Wild West just got a green light for a few more years, it sounds like. Ontario,
Crazy.
on the other hand, even a year after legalization, they're still wanting more store expansions. So I know Vancouver, BC, they kind of delayed their store expansions for a while. I think Quebec wanted to have government-run stores, and then they kind of folded and allowed, for just licensing that out. But Ontario wants to have some more stores. So far, they tried to do a lottery, didn't really work out for expanding that. So now there's a group kind of wanting for opening more stores. And that's not just even in Canada, that's in California. They have a 500 license cap, which would be something like 1/10 of the amount of stores available in Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're few and far between in California right now, even in Canada. So they're going to have to take a look at what other people are doing, or just allow for more stores and an open market economy and let them survive or not.
Now, I usually, this is about the time I get myself a little bit of trouble talking about the medical community. Again, we don't have time to really get down into the details, and I have some opinions about what's happening. I've been to Vancouver, BC. I participated in the Cannabis conference about a year ago this December. If you look at California, if you look at Oregon, if you look at Canada, especially west coast of Canada, Vancouver, British Columbia is kind of in Canada has been traditionally kind of the lead in recreational adult use cannabis in their country. But the medical community, the unregulated, California is the same way. They're unregulated, they're virtually unregulated, untaxed. They're fighting very, very hard against the commercialization, the regulation of their industry. They've been in California now since 1996, sort of unofficially. And I can tell you, the same thing happened in Washington State. The medical community here in Washington State fought 502 with a vengeance because they didn't think about it. There's no taxation, no 280E, no L&I, no B&O, no business licenses, no testing, no compliance checks, right? You're getting a fight from that community against the legal community, and the legal community is getting slaughtered. In Vancouver, the black market, gray market, whatever you want to call it, were allowed to flourish. How does somebody compete in a heavily, suffocatingly regulated industry with not a reliable supply of product to have on their shelves? How do they compete against the black market, who is just running amok and just doing business as usual? I don't know this for a fact, Josh, but I suspect if we could drill into the details and we could spend a week on that project alone, I guarantee you that's what's causing the hesitation in California. I saw it here in Washington State. I saw it up in Vancouver. I know that that's the case. Again, follow the money. Who benefits? Who's hurt by this?
We might see it in Michigan. They have 52 adult use applications on their first day. And so hopefully history doesn't rhyme nor repeat itself. Otherwise, Michigan's going to see the same slow rollouts. What are the odds?
Well, in Michigan, as I understand it, they have legalized it, yeah, but there are some, I think we're approaching 400 towns and cities who have proactively, preemptively banned retail in their municipalities. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to put together a coalition of folks that are in legal retail cannabis. I guarantee you there are towns in Michigan that think everybody's going to be stoned and dumb and lazy and unmotivated. They got all this misconceptions in their head. So they're going, no, not in our town. And then somebody like me, a 60-year-old father of 3, grandfather of 5, 30-year business person, walks in the room and they say, well, no, this is supposed to be for the pot people. I am the legal pot industry. I am the face of the legal pot industry. This is not what you think it is. And I'm trying to put together I hesitate to use the word PR program, but just an educational program to counter the stigmas and the opinions, the uneducated opinions and the thought processes and the herd mentality that seems to take off and run at situations like this. It's not what people think. And I could have been one of those people 7 or 8 years ago. And I've been immersed in the legal industry here in Washington State for almost 6 years. I can tell mothers against everything. I can tell mayors. I can tell senators. It's not what you guys are afraid of. And if you are afraid of it, then you should embrace the legalization because of the compliance, because of the testing, because of the scrutiny.
They're going to embrace the cash flow. Canada just had nearly $8 billion added to GDP in August.
And just imagine, Josh, if we could take the piano off the industry's back, what they might be able to do. If we could really get these guys running, take the chains off, man, put the sneakers on and see how fast this can go and how far it can go,
Number 2 on the list, they're doing that with legislation. U.S. Senate approved protecting the state's legal medical cannabis programs from federal interference. So that's one step, along with news that we heard before about the States Act being passed in the House. It's now being moved towards the Senate for approval there. And so, yeah, with banking and with some medical programs, especially for veterans, I think they could be the key to pushing this open.
Real quick comment on that. There's a lot of conservatives out there, typically Republicans, but some Democrats too, that don't want to be seen as advocating for potheads, right? They don't want to be seen as enabling the legal cannabis industry because so many people think it's wrong. Okay, here was Steve Mnuchin's idea on that. The money in banking, this is a perfect example of why they should embrace money or banking, easy access to banking for the legal cannabis world, because it's easier to watch us. Trust your friend, get close to your friends, get closer to your enemies. I can't cash a $20 check without the LCB and my bank knowing about it. Okay, so if you don't feel comfortable with what's going on and you don't trust these people, and that's what it comes down to, they don't trust the industry, they don't trust where it could go, they want to keep some tight reins on us. A lot of it for political purposes, but a lot of times they have those real personal opinions. Then let's put some of this stuff together so they can watch us even closer. If you're afraid of it, get closer to it. Don't run away.
There's tight reins on vaping, and they're watching it closely right now. The number one article, according to Benzinga, is a breakthrough in the CDC vape crisis investigation, claiming that vitamin E acetate was linked to the THC, may be to blame. So vitamin E acetate's an additive sometimes used in THC and other vaping products that may be to blame for a national vape crisis of e-cigarette-related lung injuries that's linked to dozens of deaths, according to U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Preventative officials. So what are you seeing, Rob, as a consultant and a store owner in Central Washington? How are vape sales there in your little community? It's a college town.
Well, you know, we're kind of an odd little duck here. We're kind of a big fish in a relatively small pond. Our cartridges, our unflavored cartridges, always sold better, 3.5, 4 to 1 than the flavored cartridges. As I understand it, and stay tuned, as I understand it, the non-flavored, the pure, if you will, cartridges, the oil that was contained within those carts have not been a problem. It's been the flavoring carts. And I would submit, and again, I don't know this for a fact, but I would submit that the problems have come from non-legal, some sort of black market, some sort of unregulated world that are creating these vapes, these carts that are causing problems. But in our store, you know, most of the folks, most of the purists, the people that really wanted the effect of the cannabis by way of the oil, and they feel that's better. It's better to heat something up than to actually light it on fire. Better for our lungs, better for our bodies. They did. Most folks, like I say, probably three out of four, maybe more. They've always been gravitating toward the unflavored anyway. So it really hasn't hurt us much here.
Well, with that, we're going to roll this one up. I want to thank my guest, Rob Hendrix. Appreciate you being back on the Talking Hedge.
Appreciate it, Josh. It's always great to be here.
I am Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge. By the way, if you enjoy the content, please show your support with the cushy gesture of $4.20 a month on the Talking Hedges Patreon page. This will kind of help you spread the word. I've been asked to speak all over the world, from Toronto and Colombia, Spain, Miami, all over, Tokyo. But your support's important to me. I haven't monetized the podcast. I want to be as authentic and transparent as possible. I want to avoid conflicts of interest or even the perception of paid opinions. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or pay me on the Talking Hedges Patreon page, or don't, and I'm out.